Well, there are a lot of examples of companies using social media for public relations and for marketing here in Korea. YouTube, for example, a lot of videos will show up on YouTube. You'll see a lot of the stars or entertainers or companies with some sort of a Twitter account or a Facebook page or something like that. So it is really, really quite popular. Um, so it is spreading, but like I said, it's I think it's still not as popular as, say, direct TV ads, because television consumption here in Korea is huge. Even though we like to use the internet a lot, I think mainly there's still a lot of consumption based on TV. And I think if you put a famous face into those advertisements, even if you do them, through your marketing or PR, if you put a famous face there, that definitely helps you. However, I think that if you were to uh, find a way to use social media, like I said before, to better engage with your audience, if you set up a campaign where the focus is building a fan base for your product or service, then I think your PR and marketing will be so much more effective. Right, so as I was saying, right, they haven't used these channels as well as they really could. They probably are still, like I said, making the mistake of being too promotional or not having a direct link to their product or some sort of image that they're trying to convey. Because as you can probably guess, you can really use social media as a branding tool. So if you try and brand something, let's say for example you make a video and your video doesn't have any relationship to your product or service, well, what are you trying to do? What exactly is the point of the video then? So you're not engaging your audience then. And that's what I've been trying to explain, is that in order to use these channels well, you have to remember who your audience is and how best to engage with them. So if you want to know what they should be doing, that's something they should do. They should utilize those channels to find a way to engage with their audience and then maintain that relationship with them and to build it further. Well, the mistakes they made are what I've mentioned before, using it as too much of a promotional tool. But I think these mistakes are not limited only to companies here in Korea. I think it's just everywhere around the world it's the same thing, because they just don't know what to do with it yet. As Richard Branson said, the very famous billionaire and the owner of Virgin and all those huge companies that he just let a group of 20-somethings control his social media department and just let them do whatever they wanted to engage with their audience and to engage with their customers. And he even still personally answers emails, so I think that's really important. So if you're not doing those kind of things, if you're not actively engaging with people and replying to their comments and helping them, instead of selling them something, help them, give them the information they need. So that's a mistake that many companies make as well, is that everything they do, they're worried that they have to constantly sell something. Like the ABC, always be closing, right? ABC, always be closing, like in that famous movie. But you want to, like I said, provide good information. You want to have people come to your site, for example. If you set up a website, for example, or a blog, you want them to come so they can find good information and build that trust with you, so that they know that you're there to help them, and that when they do want to buy something, they'll remember you. Because it's just like I said, if I were to meet you and we became friends or something like that, but you didn't really care about what I did, right? But let's say then you had another friend who was interested in social media marketing. So you would say, well, hey, I know this guy named Carl who seems like a nice guy, and he said that he was doing some social media marketing. Here's his number. Why don't you ask him what he does and see if he can help you? So that's what you want. You want that kind of level of trust with your audience, that they will recommend you to other people. They may not use your service directly, but they may recommend it to other people. So that's where they should be using it, to avoid that kind of a mistake, to avoid just being too promotional. Trends in Korea, wow. Trends in Korea, they happen so fast and they're sometimes gone just as quickly. But I think with the popularity and the boom of mobile devices, that will really, really make a big, big difference in terms of what you're going to see. Also, um, with the introduction of a really high-speed wireless internet available pretty much everywhere, that will also make a huge difference as well, because people will be able to access their information and their content basically anywhere. And even right now, I have a smartphone, I have my iPhone, and I'm able to do just about everything with it and get so much information from it. So I think the trend will be that more companies will put more of the things into mobile versions and have more engagement with their users on a mobile basis. So mobile friendly applications, mobile friendly websites. That's one thing that's a huge disadvantage for people that are using, for example, the iPhone, is that we can't see Flash. And in Korea, a lot of websites are, coded in Flash. So I think that's a big mistake. If I can go back and add another mistake, is that in Korea, a lot of companies are relying too heavily on Flash. So people who are using an iPhone or an iPad can't view the content there. So they're not going to be able to engage with your company in that way. So I think, moving towards more mobile devices, just like anywhere else, is probably one of the bigger trends. And also, I think you're going to see that companies will start using more of these sort of less expensive ways of getting engaged with their audience. Instead of setting up some huge, big, expensive website, they could set up just a simple blog, maybe just use a Facebook page, and also maybe just Twitter, and maybe a YouTube channel, and just use those as a way to connect with their audience and to promote and to sell their services that way, once they, of course, build that relationship with them. I think the biggest difference between other regions in Asia compared to Hong Kong or whatever is the fact that the internet here is so fast, and we have such a great internet infrastructure and a culture that relies so heavily on using the internet. So I think that's sort of I would say that was the biggest difference. If you're to say who has more usage in terms of social media, I would say that Korea might go a little bit faster. I don't know. I'm not saying that I know, because I don't know what's going on in Hong Kong. But as far as in Korea is concerned, because of the speed of the internet here and because we can access it pretty much everywhere, that I think will be the biggest driver for enhancing the use of social media and for getting companies to make better use of social media. So as an example, for someone like myself that offers social media consulting services, I would be able to better offer services to them, to companies here, because I know how they could use what they have here in order to get their message out better to the rest of the world. So I think that's maybe the biggest difference. Like I said, it's the speed of the internet and the proliferation of these mobile devices just everywhere. Everyone's got one, basically. I think traditional media is still going to be strong in Korea because newspapers are huge here. But like I said, a lot of that is going to be moving online. Um, Books I think in any area around the world, I don't think that print will be fully replaced, especially books. I think if you're talking about just documents, if you're talking about things like newspapers, those and magazines, I think those can eventually move to a completely mobile device. As far as other forms of traditional media, television will not go away. We have these smart TVs here in Korea. I don't know if that's such a good idea, but those kind of traditional media formats will never really go away, I think, right now anyway. And also because, think about it, the size of the screen on your phone or even on a tablet device is still relatively small compared to what you can get on a TV. So if you're going to engage in any way with traditional media, it's still going to be on a larger format. Newspapers, I don't think they'll ever really go away, but I think they will. From an environmental perspective, personally, I think it's a great idea to move completely digital. I think if you used, actually, I just recently read a story where a government agency in America, I think one county or something like that, they decided to switch to iPads completely. And they said that in a year they had spent about $27,000 on paper. Printing stuff out and distributing and whatever else. It cost them $27,000 a year. and also not to mention the amount of weight and also the environmental impact that has. But when they switched to the iPad, they only spent $13,000 to buy, I believe it was, I think, I think $500 per iPad or $900 per iPad. They bought, I think, like 50 or 60. I don't remember how many they bought, but they bought a huge number of iPads, and the cost was only $13,000. So I think what you're going to see here as far as traditional media, you might not say traditional media, but just paper might start to disappear for people because of the cost savings and the availability of the tablet devices. I think that Samsung will have to make a larger device, or else Apple's going to come in with their iPad and really dominate the market here as well. But there you go. I think the future outlook for traditional media is still good, but I think eventually things like newspapers and things like that will go mobile, just because it's so much easier to have it on your mobile device instead of carrying a big newspaper and unfolding and folding it and things like that. Thank you so much for having me and for wanting to talk to me and to want this interview with me. It's really just a huge, huge honor, and what a pleasure it's been to do this for you. I hope that the answers I've given you are satisfactory. And if you do have any more questions, or if people are watching this and they have more questions, they can always go to my website, which is socialmediaconsultingexpert.com. Okay, socialmediaconsultingexpert.com. And they can contact me. There's a contact form there. You can also email me at Carl, C-A-R-L, .kwalus@gmail.com. That's my direct email address. And like I said, though, you can visit my website and you can check out some of the information we have there and some of the services that we offer. And who knows, maybe we can help you out someday as well. Anyway, thank you again, and take care. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.